Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, October the 21st, 2024. I always like to start with where is the moon, because the moon represents the public tone, the public reactions. And on Monday, the moon that starts the new work week will be in Gemini. Gemini is curious, it's inquisitive, it's talkative, it's running errands. It's a lot of mental stimulation. The moon will be in a square or a challenging aspect to nebulous Neptune around noon to 1 p.m. Pacific time. That could bring in some emotional confusions, being distracted, being very much unfocused. But it only lasts an hour or two. The moon then moves into Cancer at 3:50 p.m. Pacific time. These two qualities are very different because when the emotional moon is in Gemini, we are talking and analyzing our feelings. But when the moon goes into Cancer, we tend to be more introspective, more reflective, more emotional, and basically Gemini wants to run all over the place and have a good time, where when the moon goes into Cancer once a month, many times you just prefer to stay closer to home, the home, your private sanctuary, be closer to family. The last half of the day, Pacific time, communication, decisive Mercury will be in harmony, called a trine, to pragmatic Saturn. This will happen about twice a year. This is very favorable for business. That Mercury is the mind, and with Saturn, it gives more concentration, more practicality. It's very favorable for all kinds of business negotiations. Now, on Tuesday, as the moon is in Cancer, because the moon goes from sign to sign every 2.5 days, the sun is going to be squaring or a hard angle to Pluto. Sun-Pluto days, there could be some unraveling of secrets. Pluto rules the underworld. It could be some power struggles with authority figures. The sun can rule authority figures. Pluto rules the sign Scorpio. And the sun is leaving Libra after 4 weeks, and by around 3:15 p.m. Pacific time, the sun enters into Scorpio. And so for those next 4 weeks, you'll definitely see a major shift. Because with the sun in Libra, it's more sociable, more fair-minded, more seeking win-win situations. It's just a much more sociable sign. Then once a year, for 4 weeks, the sun's in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto's the ruler of the underworld. So we tend to be more introspective, more private. It's also that time where you could be keeping a lot of things to yourself. It's favorable for studying, for researching. Now, and that goes on for these next 4 weeks. Wednesday, as the moon continues in Cancer, it's going to cross over ambitious, assertive Mars around mid-afternoon Pacific time. That emotional moon crossing Mars, that could bring some emotional tension, stresses. It only lasts an hour or two, but you might be more prone to arguments, to irritability, or just a lot of emotional anxiousness. But that'll clear up because by 6 p.m. Pacific time, so let's say as we're getting closer to 6, on to about 7 for that hour or so, now the Cancer moon, the nurturing emotional Cancer moon, will be in harmony or trining Neptune. Moon Neptune can be very idealistic and charitable and spiritual and intuitive. There's this strong emotional empathy. Thursday, now the moon has shifted into fiery, dynamic, puts the spotlight on me, Leo. And so you'll see another big difference, because when the moon's in Cancer, there's more of a tendency to just want to stay at home. But when the moon goes into Leo, you want to go out and about and celebrate and, attend parties, attend gatherings. The moon in dynamic, romantic Leo will be in harmony with sociable, loving Venus mid-afternoon, that Pacific time. So that's an ideal time for socializing, expressing yourself creatively, can be a romantic time, and for the whole day. Mars, assertive, impatient, aggressive Mars, will be in harmony with innovative, rebellious Uranus. This favorable transit is a sextile, which is 60 degrees, which brings in positive opportunities. Mars-Uranus is very risk-taking, taking bold actions, wanting to break out of any old, stuck, bored routine. It triggers a lot of motivation, initiative, and excitement. Friday, as the moon continues in outgoing, dynamic Leo, by mid-morning Pacific time, it will square or be in tension with communication Mercury. Now, the moon can represent our emotions. The moon can be more subjective. But when it's in tension with Mercury, Mercury is more rational, more analytical, more objective. And so when the emotional is in tension with the objective, communications may get off track. But it's only an hour or two. It's mid-morning Pacific time. By mid-afternoon, any of these misunderstandings will clear up, because the emotional moon, ideal for going into a Friday evening, is going to be in harmony with optimistic, expansive Jupiter. Could also be very favorable time, because of Jupiter, to be going away for the weekend or headed for the airport, as Jupiter deals with traveling expansiveness. But socially, the moon, most people are going to be feeling more upbeat, maybe more inclined to go out for the weekend. And now it's Saturday. Now, the moon continues in fiery, dynamic Leo, but it's going to go void of course from 1:04 a.m. Pacific time until 8:48 a.m. Pacific time. When the moon's void of course, I often mention once a week, it's when the moon is changing signs, but it's no longer, while it's changing sign, making any aspects to other planets. So the energy is flat and unproductive. So you don't want to be initiating any kind of important new events, starting new jobs, launching a website, etc., because the energy to achieve your goals and expectations is running flat. At 8:48 a.m. Pacific time, now the moon goes into Virgo, where Leo, when the moon's in Leo, we want to, in many ways, party, celebrate, romance, have a good time. When the moon, the emotional needs, goes into Virgo, Virgo is more work-oriented, service-oriented, wanting to be of assistance. Virgo is an earth sign. Leo's a fire. Fiery is very combustible and inspirational. But when that emotional moon's in Virgo, an earth sign, we're more sensible. We're more practical. We're more business-minded. Then we go into Sunday, and by late morning, the moon in Virgo will be in a hard angle to social Venus and in tension with restricted Saturn. So for an hour or two, late morning Pacific time, this might be a rough tensions with relationships. Maybe it's because you have a hangover from Saturday night. For a lot of people, you might be feeling kind of a discord, being off track with relationships or feeling emotionally out of sorts. Just breathe, go meditate, go take a walk. This too shall only last for an hour or so. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.